Hello, everyone. I'm Sheldon Barlett Rumor, and this is it. Welcome back to This Is It TV. It is always a pleasure, and I'm always excited to dive on in to a great conversation with my dear friend. I'd love for him to reintroduce himself, his first and last name, and all he's up to.
Sheldon, I'm Louis Bezich, men's health advocate, contributing writer to phillyvoice.com, and the author of Crack the Code, 10 proven secrets that motivate healthy behavior and inspire fulfillment in men over 50. How are you?
I'm so good. I am so good. And again, always excited to chat with you. What are we talking about today?
Today, Sheldon, we're going to talk about one of the easiest things that we can do to help our health, something that can reduce the risk of death, cut the chances of dementia, and lower the risk of heart disease and cancer. Wow, you might say.
Right.
What is that? It's called walking. Yes, there's a new study out that was published in the Lancet, the Lancet Public Health Journal, which is very respected, that looked at, and it's what they call a meta-analysis, where they look at all these different studies and they compile them, they compare things, and they come up with some results. And what they concluded was that if you can do 7,000 steps per day, that will have a 47% lower risk of death. You'll have a 38% lower risk of dementia and a 25% lower risk of heart disease compared to people who only do 2,000 steps per day. So
Really?
it shows you that if you get to 7,000, it's quite a difference. Now, one of the things that's kind of in the geeky world of all these medical stats is that the benchmark for so many years was 10,000 steps a day. If you're
Right.
into that, that may ring, true to you.
Sure.
But what they found was that yes, 10 is better than 7, and 7 is better than 4, and 4 is better than 2, right? That's what they break it all down. But
For
what
sure.
they found was that the difference between 7 and 10, with 10 being such that long-standing benchmark, is really not that great. So let's focus on 7
Okay.
because unfortunately in America, we average about 4,000 steps per day.
Yeah.
So, it's something that's a little bit more realistic that people can kind of wrap their arms around. So that's the message here today is that a
Sure.
simple walk can have some tremendous benefits to your health.
Yeah, we talked about this so often because people are trying to fit fitness into their lives and finding it very, very hard, right? The gym membership or whatever the new fad is. But I think that what you're saying and what I agree with fully, because walking has always been a game changer for me, especially
Mhm.
individuals who are easing into it or coming off injury or coming off, not
Yep.
working out intensely at all. This is something that we can incorporate into our lives that isn't a huge strain or drain,
Right.
as we get into being more physically fit. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Schedule, the day-to-day chores that we have, our jobs, of course, really makes it difficult for a lot of people to fit exercise into our schedule. But walking, you've seen it, people at work have walking clubs. They'll go out at lunchtime.
Yeah.
You can do it after dinner, perhaps with your spouse, take a walk around the block, whatever. There's others that, love the early morning scenario. So
Yeah.
it really is conducive to squeezing it into your schedule. And again, it's easy,
Love that.
maybe just a pair of running shoes or walking
Sure.
shoes, and that's really not super necessary. It's probably a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
So, the requirements are minimal and the benefits are huge.
They're huge. They're absolutely huge. When I tend to walk, I'm spoiled. I do have a treadmill in my house, and being able to walk and watch, turn on the TV in front of
Oh,
it. I watch three episodes. I watch a full movie. I'm walking. I mean, again, you get some time by yourself. I always
yeah.
also equally think for mental health.
Mhm.
Walking has been so good for me.
Yes.
And the relationships I have in my life. I go take a walk before
Yep.
I get too
Yep.
stressed out or before I start taking out my angst on anybody else. It helps me in like level setting, right?
Mhm.
In the way in which I feel. So it's not only physical, it gives you an opportunity to be able to mentally take some time for yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's good for yourself. Again, if you've got we've talked in the past about a gym buddy or a partner, whatever, time to walk and talk, and before you know it, you've walked 10, 7,000 steps. You don't even realize it because you're
Sure.
talking, whatever. Listening to a podcast, whatever the case might be. And another key point is technology. We've got you can
Mhm.
on your watch, you can track your steps, you can keep track of things. So that is always good, so that you can measure your performance.
I love that. I love that. And we've always stressed, I mean, a lot of you may be listening and you might be like 7,000 that's a lot, like you know what I mean, being able to figure that out. So what advice do you have for people to kind of ease into it, right? I mean, I think we're always encouraging people to kind of jump in, really begin to take care of themselves in that way, but those that are feeling a little bit like, I don't necessarily know, 7,000, anything with a comma sounds really really difficult to kind of jump into. What kind of advice would you provide?
Well, first of all, realize that you're probably walking a decent amount of steps, just
Yeah.
in daily life because
Sure.
walking around the house, walking around the office, whatever will give you a few steps. But number one, starts like any exercise program, start slow. Maybe even check in with your doc depending on your own physical condition and what
Sure.
your medical history has been. But start slow, take it easy, and build up your stamina accordingly.
I love
And again, I'm always an advocate for add a social dimension to
it.
it. If you can partner with somebody else, join a walking club, count your steps. Many offices have little competitions and stuff where we
Sure.
look at how many steps we're,
Oh, I love that.
walking every day, that type of thing. But start slow, check in with your doc, and then build up and realize it may sound daunting at 7,000, but you're probably doing,
Right. We're already halfway there, more or
2,000
less.
just, again, walking around the house.
I agree. Agree. So again, I love the idea of adding a social component to it, that accountability partner, that reason to get together. I'll walk to you, we meet halfway, that kind of thing, I think is
Yep.
really great. As the summer begins to wind down and the fall begins to cool off, ideally,
Mhm.
heading outside and as the kids say, touching grass is always a good idea to get, everything circulating in that way. And then
Absolutely.
really easing into it, just giving yourself a break and easing into it so you stay consistent and look to do it long term.
Right. And also the other thing I want to real quick before we
Of
wrap
course.
up here is to if you miss a day, right? It's not the end of the world. If
Not
you
the
miss 2 days, it's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
Go easy on yourself. It's not,
Yeah.
there's nobody
Yeah.
over
Start
your shoulder here, but
for
it's
sure.
you want to get to a point where if you do miss a day, you feel it and you want
Yeah.
to, build it into your daily routine. That's where you want to get to.
I think I mean, that's such a great point for us to conclude on because I think that a lot of other physical activity, right, you have to start from zero, right? Whether it's something really heavy, you missed a circuit and then you got to start from the beginning. But walking is something that you can just always regain momentum, without having to like re-engage in a program or start from scratch. Walking is something, regardless of if you missed it, got crazy, you can just kind of re-engage with yourself and then start walking from there, which I think is
Absolutely. I mean, it's always good to stretch and that type
yes,
of
of
thing
course.
before you start walking. But again, if you've been off for a little bit, just walk slow.
Just walk
Okay?
slow. Just
That's
walk
all you
slow.
want to
Crawling is still forward, I like to say. It's,
do.
it's always good. You
Exactly.
are so amazing and you always shed such wonderful light on things that we can do to live better and live well. If people want to get in touch with you, if they want to follow, fan, and like you, as I like to say, where do they find more information?
Sure. Well, you can always follow me on social media at Louis Bezich and on my website, louisbezich.com. You'll see what's going on in my world and maybe soon get a little peek of a new book that's coming out. I'll tease at that. We'll have more on that in the next episode, but some good stuff is coming out.
Yes, yes. Okay. With bated breath, now we can't wait. You have to make sure you tune in not only to this episode, but all of the episodes that we have from our dear friend Lewis, and then follow, fan, and like him for more from all of us here at This Is It TV. I'm Sheldon Barlett Rumor, and we will see you soon. Take care.